Death is only the beginning. Arise, friend or foe, it matters not. Now they are part of my eternal army. Necromancers are not created infamous. We all drag ourselves from our beloved Valley of Souls, low-born apprentice in tow. As wretched as I was, I required the tools of my trade. From the flames of the forge, I drew forth magic artifacts to wield. Through study of the arcane, I gained the edge on the battlefield. With my newfound power and armies, I took cities, ventured into dungeons, and asserted my dominion over these lands.
Check it out, my good friend Sean Foyt, his album just hit #1 in the world! And he's coming to perform at the San Antonio Reawaken America tour. Yes. He's coming to perform at the Dallas Reawaken America tour. What?
Yes. Hey, friends around the world. I'm here, Sean Foyt, Andy Bird, and we are in Herrnhut, Germany, way out in the east, a little town close to the Czech border. And we're standing at the very grave of the great Count Zinzendorf, who ignited the Moravian movement that burned for 120 years and launched the greatest missions movement in the history of the world. And it's just crazy that we ended up being here at the same time. Andy's here teaching at the YWAM base in the school, and we also have our Fire and Fragrance crew from Amsterdam that is here. They've been here for the last 2 weeks. And then the Burn Euro tour, we were able to, so we're really believing today, I mean, it's just no accident we're here on his birthday. We're just believing that God is going to mark a generation for this marriage once again, and that from the mantle of this man right here, that his history, entire books have been written about him.
Those bold enough to cross the line of sin for deeper knowledge, who follow an unquenchable yearning, born of blood and bone, to unlock the forbidden secrets and foulest black rituals, calling forth life from death.
With all the fanfare that befits Egypt's ancient kings and queens, the highly anticipated and meticulously planned Pharaoh's Golden Parade was the biggest cultural event Cairo has seen in recent years. Travelling in individual vehicles bedecked in ancient Egyptian style, the mummified royals, 22 of them in all, were moved from Cairo's Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square. They moved through the capital streets to a new location, a state-of-the-art facility called the National Museum of Ancient Civilization, where they were greeted by a concert from the Cairo Philharmonic featuring famous singers, and then received by the Egyptian president. The pharaohs are the stuff of legend and include Amenhotep I, Ramses II, Ramses III, and Queen Nefertari.
You've got two worlds really coming together. You've got the curators who normally move these things without the world watching and prepare objects to travel around the world, but then you've got a spectacle that needs to be put on. So the logistics behind it were very complex, and you can imagine they've been working on it for a very long time, and I think they really pulled it off. It's got the spectacle, but we also felt that everything was done safely.
Truly embrace this power, you must take it into the world. And you will be shunned, scorned, marked as a living sacrifice to this profane knowledge.
Lord, that you would release the mantle, God, of this man, Count Zinzendorf, God, on an entire generation, God. Lord, that you would release the mantle, God, of this man, Count Zinzendorf, God. It's a testimony of what God is doing in our day. And we're just past the 100-year mark, so we're calling forth you wild sons and daughter, intercessor revivalists, worshiping warriors to arise in this hour and release the passion and the fire in your hearts, and we're going to call forth something even greater than the world's ever seen.
You will be a priest of Rathma, a necromancer. And you will not confront the darkness alone. We are the speakers of the dead, and the dead have no mercy.
Yeah. It's the grave of Evan Roberts. Lord, we ask you to raise up a whole army of revivalists, carrying a double portion from what Evan carried. Unleash them on the nations of the earth. Unleash them to bring revival, the fire of your presence. People that are watching this video right now, Lord, we say, raise them up, God. Double portion sons and daughters. Double portion! Okay.
What?
Yeah. The security operation was a mammoth undertaking. Streets were closed and Cairo brought to a standstill. The event, which lasted around 2 hours, was attended by various dignitaries, including the Director General of UNESCO, the UN's World Heritage Organization. Once the mummies arrived at their new resting place, they are to be put into restoration in a lab for 15 days and readied for display. But there are a minority who mutter darkly about an ancient curse. Legend has it that cursed will be the ones that move the mummies. They say the Suez Canal blockage disturbing global markets, 2 trains colliding with each other, a garment factory blaze and a residential building collapse all came after the announcement of the Pharaoh's Golden Parade. But the ancient curse hasn't stopped the pharaohs once again appearing on the streets of Egypt.
Central Florida is a premier destination for Halloween fans, and one event is a big reason why. At Universal Orlando, things get scarier and stranger even longer.
Oh yeah, tonight kicks off the 32nd annual Halloween Horror Nights, where guests will come face to face with sinister characters in 10 highly immersive haunted houses.
This is the world you are graduating into. This is what I want to talk about today with you for a few minutes. To lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
Hi. Are you lost, sweetheart? Are you afraid, honey? Well, why don't you come with me? All right. I'll sing you a song till your mom comes back. God is in his holy temple. Earthly thoughts be silent now.
I am so glad that they didn't call me for this assignment. There's also 5 scare zones and 1 explosive live show. Photojournalist Goose Gosling gives us a frightful preview.
Just because you're dead doesn't mean you're not worth money. Celebrities like Michael Jackson, Marilyn Monroe, and Elvis Presley continue to earn millions of dollars from beyond the grave. Advertisers have been capitalizing on this for years, using lookalikes, animations, and even old footage to revive stars. But those mediums are flawed. To get the perfect ad, you need to bring the celebrity back to life.
This is like a once-in-a-lifetime encounter you've had with Bruce Lee himself, and he's telling you something that you ought to listen to.
In honor of the 40th anniversary of Bruce Lee's death, Johnny Walker commissioned a commercial from the ad agency BBH to digitally reanimate the martial arts master, even though Lee himself never drank.
Why Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee had a philosophy of walk on, which is very similar to keep walking. And what we're trying to do is to bridge these two things.
Digital Bruce is the next step in the progression of computer reanimated celebrities, performing in ways they never did in life. Most famously, Digital Domain's hologram Tupac rocked the stage at Coachella 2012, and while rapping was his profession, the show was not just a 3D-ified canned performance.
When Tupac calls out to the audience, "What the is up, Coachella?" Coachella didn't exist during his lifetime, and the idea here was it was going to be a fresh, original performance that no one's ever seen before.
Digitally reanimating a celebrity like Tupac or Bruce Lee from scratch is hard work, and eerily resembles building Frankenstein's monster. Animators start with the wireframe skeleton and add layers of muscle and flesh in order to give the body proper weight and look. To avoid Frankenstein's jerky movements, animators create thousands of expressions, and expressions between expressions. But it isn't enough to make it look like the person.
There are CG rules. It will tell you things like don't move the camera around so much, don't get extremely close, don't use dramatic lighting. What we decided to do was, let's disregard all of it. Let's break every single rule.
This is a terrifying event. We lean into the horror of Halloween Horror Nights.
We always have chainsaws out there ready to get you.
We never repeat. We love to create new stories every year, have new amazing intellectual properties like Last of Us and Stranger Things.
My name is Scarlett Marlowe, and I'm a student in urban archaeology. 370 feet beneath this point is a hidden chamber that might contain a critical missing piece of our history.
How are we supposed to get down there?
Catacombs. There are 200 miles of tunnels right underneath our feet.
They're holding the remains of 6 million corpses.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead.
These are human bones. We go through here?
Let's do it. Keep it slow and steady, yeah?
I think I'm stuck.
Just breathe with me, please. It's okay.
What was that?
Studies show that most people believe in angels, but not all angels are associated with goodness and light. In fact, some are all about the exact opposite. And right now in Mexico, one is surging in popularity: Santa Muerte, the Saint of Death.
10 years ago, she was never spoken of. I tell you that now, something big. She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
Even along a busy highway in Nogales, Sonora, where you'll find shrine after vandalized shrine dedicated to death.
What do people get out of Santa Muerte? Out of death? It's more what they ask for. They ask for something with a lot of faith, and they believe that it delivers. And when it does deliver, it delivers in quantities.
At this shop in Nogales, Sonora, the owner pinpoints the reasons people come here to buy statuettes of death and then pray to them.
La mayoría de las personas vienen buscando la Santa Muerte por cuestiones de conseguir dinero y conseguir amor.
In case you're wondering, The owner says statuettes of death are equal in sales to those of the Virgin Mary, with the Virgin pulling ahead only at Christmas time.
We've seen shrines for Santa Muerte around Nogales, Sonora, but this is a temple.
People trickle in on a daily basis to kneel and pray and touch the skeletal sculpture. Most would not talk to us for fear of being ridiculed in this report, but one man did stop long enough for us to ask,
Do you believe in Santa Muerte?
Sí, un poco sí. A caretaker watches over this place and was not forthcoming on who exactly built it. But it's obvious that the person or persons certainly had enough faith in death to spend a lot of money on a temple. And who knows, if the system works as they believe it does, perhaps they're hoping for an even greater payback. After all, this is one saint that definitely is made out of money.
And this is an attempt to force a viewer to believe that whatever we're creating in front of them is a human being.
How do we bring not just the physical likeness, but how do we bring him back in a way that it feels like Tupac? And that was the big challenge. And in that regard, we really had to rely not only on clips of video, but we had to rely on friends and family.
Using family and friends to make sure the celebrity looks and feels right isn't as important as making sure that bringing the celebrity back is legally right. Celebrity likeness laws extend after death, and without the estate's consent, reanimating a celebrity is like featuring a live one without permission.
I want to make this video, I want to bring to light, I want to open people's eyes, I want them to see and look and see what's going on. This is ridiculous, guys.
A lot of years have passed, and I've been thinking, it's showtime.
Some way, somehow, you escaped. And now you're opening a door to the netherworld?
Oh yeah. For generations, we have waited for this moment. The netherworld is coming to your precious world. Once the door opens, there's no closing it.
There are secrets to the other side you have no idea about.
Death lurks around every corner.
I know Catholics don't read their Bibles, but just looking at this picture, it should be enough to tell you that this is not of God. This is not of God. This is necromancing. This is worshipping of the dead. This is pure, and it's just pure evil, guys. What's wrong with you guys? Please, wake up and come out of this harlot church. God is saying, come out of her, my people. Do not be part of her judgments. You can't support this. You can't defend this. This is pure wicked. This is evil. This is worshipping the dead, guys.
It may seem strange to the outside world, but Tarajans are completely at home with the dead. Here are 4 Tarajan death rituals that are out of this world. Fact number 1. Corpses of loved ones are kept at home for months, even up to 30 years.
Nenek sudah 2 bulan meninggal, 6 bulan lagi baru diupacarakan, kayak gitu.
The deceased are considered sick, not dead, till the funeral. Food, water, and even cigarettes are offered to them daily, as funeral plans are being made. Fact number 2. Tarajan funerals are joyous celebrations with rituals and animal sacrifices.
Secara logika, pandangan orang luar itu tidak masuk akal. Tetapi yang ada di masyarakat Toraja lah nilai yang terkandung di dalam satu kerbau itu. Pendamping menghantar almarhum atau almarhumah yang sudah meninggal itu ke nirwana atau pengiring pencapai surga. Tapi tedong mira kata
Lah 500, 5,5.
5,5. Tak tiro-tiro pakai satu
Yo.
A 3-day funeral requires at least 7 buffaloes. That is the cost of 3 to 4 houses in Toraja.
Kalau menurut adat Toraja, upacara pemakaman adalah sesuatu yang dianggap penghormatan terakhir untuk orang yang kita kasihi.
The coffin is escorted to the ceremonial tower.
Jadi di situ dianggap bahwa ini sudah betul-betul meninggal.
Di Toraja untuk pemotongan kerbau atau penyembelihan kerbau memang punya keterampilan khusus karena pertama itu keberanian pastinya, terus tenaga, teknik, dan ketajaman goloknya.
Fact number 3. Every August, Torajans uncover the corpses of their deceased relatives and dress them in new clothes.
Mak nenek itu adalah salah satu bentuk orang Toraja dalam menjaga hubungan antara para leluhur yang sudah meninggal. Tidak terlihat sama sekali kesedihan, tetapi justru yang kelihatan adalah semacam keceriaan.
This usually calls for fresh family portraits.
Selama ini kita motret jenazah di Toraja nggak ada tabu sih, nggak ada. Jadi yang penting kita nggak mengganggu ritualnya.
Ini keren banget sih fotonya kayak gini. Jago ini.
Ini sudah 40 tahun, baru dibuka 40 tahun dan peti baru dibuka lagi. Masih ada giginya, kulitnya masih bagus.
Last but not least, fact number 4. Torajans believe the dead never really leave. They build intricate wooden effigies of their loved ones that are regarded as guardians of the tombs and protectors of the living.
Orang Toraja menjalin atau tetap menjaga hubungan antara yang masih hidup dengan para leluhurnya di alam sana. Ada 2 yang saya kenal di dalam sini adalah paman dan tante saya. Yang saya rasakan itu adalah bahwa mereka tetap berada di sekitar saya. Saya tetap merasa dekat dengan mereka.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron.
And a special thanks to the members of the Roosevelt family who are here, and the one who is not, Eleanor. I know that because, as all of you famously learned when I served as president, my wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that.
I want the souls. I need the souls.
Happy Halloween, everybody! We just want to say to all the families, all the kids, it is great to see you guys. We hope you have a great time today. You guys all look scary or cool or whatever you're trying to be. Awesome. Many of you look awesome. And we hope you have a great time. We hope parents that on this day at least, you don't have to pay attention to Michelle and healthy eating.
Candy for everybody.
And in fact, the more candy, the later you eat the candy, the better. Because I think that you being up all night with a sugar rush is exactly what your parents are looking for.
I need souls, man. How many souls can you deliver to me today?
Deliver to you?
Take my hand. Walk in the valley of the darkness.
I was reading the other day, there's a guy on the radio who apparently Trump's on his show frequently. He said, me and Hillary are demons. said we smell like sulfur. Ain't that something?
Sir? I command thee to deliver your souls to me.
We have 48 nights. It ends November 4th. Starts tonight.
So you are not worthy to take this immortal elixir.
Once you come in through our fun gates, we have Dr. Oddfellow's collection of horror, which...
The broken, the sick, and the demented.
He's got something fun waiting for all of you once you arrive.
Join us. I have some friends who are dying to meet you.
So I read this the other day and I said, wow, that's really amazing. That's really incredible. And it's the snake lyric. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. Interesting. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Oh, well, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman. Sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up cozy in a curvature of silk and then laid him by the fireside with some honey and some milk. Now she hurried home from work, and that night, as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken and revived. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. Now she clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in, by now you might have died. She stroked his pretty skin, and then she kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bit me. Heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Does that make sense to anybody? Does that make any sense? Does that make sense? I mean, you know, and hopefully that's not going to be the case, but it's pretty. I read it and I just sort of put it together. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea who we're taking in.
What do you say, guys? Is this party legendary? When I say Mabel, you say puns! Mabel! Ah! Mabel!
We're all gonna die!
Why does that never work?
Whoa, I think it's an earthquake. Hey, everybody, we gotta get out of here.
We are all doomed!
Quick, into my getaway pouch! Mabel, escape while you still can!
Wait, no! Don't leave! You haven't even done our family karaoke song yet! Dipper, what's the one thing I asked you not to do tonight?
Raise the dead.
And what did you do?
Raise the dead.
Get back, dudes. This is about to get intense. Sorry, 1 second. You gotta admit this is pretty cool.
And we better be careful.
Hello? Yes.
How can we help you?
I need souls.
Some what?
I command thee to give me your souls.
Sing praise, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
embrace the darkness!
What was that now?
I command thee to embrace the darkness!
Hey, let me tell you something. Why don't you go get a light, man?
It's not of God. I mean, I can't believe people are so gullible and foolish to think that this is of God. It's just disgusting, and you're being deceived by wicked, evil men. I'm praying to you guys, please, come out of this. This is pure evil. This system is not of God. This system is the Bible says that these people are going to be severely judged. They are going to be destroyed in one day, and their judgments are gonna be so severe for what they do, for how they behave.
Tarby, that's not funny! It is from here. Well, come on, smart guy. Where are we gonna wake up? How about this one?
The land means that it's a kid's grave, and I don't want to raise up a kid.
It's creepy that you know that.
This way, I think.
Nice trick with the book, Lois. And no, that's you.
No, it's not.
Was that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Come on.
For thou who sleeps in stone and clay, heed this call, rise up and obey. Trek on through the mortal door, assemble flesh and walk once more.
So what now?
That's it. That's all it says.
See? I told you all this was a...
Tarby? Tarby!
They are disgusting in the sight of my God, my spiritual Father that lives and dwells in heaven, and he looks down upon this earth and he sees people worshipping the dead, thinking that it's okay to be around the dead and to worship them and turn them into idols People will go and worship them and take pictures beside them. It's disgusting, guys. I want you to wake up and understand that this church is of the devil. If the devil couldn't make it any clearer, he came in and he completely and utterly made a mockery of God. And I can't believe people can't see and put this together and know that this is not of God. The Bible says that the devil comes looking like an angel of light, and his ministers are also ministering angels of light. The devil will come looking like a holy person, but if you really inspect it and look, you'll see it is of the devil. This is not right, people. I'm speaking to those that are caught up in this harlot church. This is the mother harlot of all churches. It is abomination in the sight of God. And if you continue to stay in this church, you will be severely judged. You'll be severely judged by the Father. And I don't want anybody to have to go and endure what is going to come upon them for staying in this church. These are real dead people. This woman is taking a picture beside a dead corpse and thinking that it's okay. And it's just not. It's disgusting. I would turn my stomach. I can't believe people would go to Rome and would stand or pose and take a picture with a dead person.
1 Corinthians 10:21. Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. When it comes to Halloween, it is especially important for you as a parent to understand how demonic Halloween truly is. It is an occult holiday where the demons are manifesting right before your very eyes. As you dress up your children in aims of having a great wholesome family time, you do not realize that you're partaking of something so demonic and so evil that can harm your children, that can bring forth a lot of demonic activity in your home, open yourself up for sleep paralysis and many more things. And we live in this type of a society where in horror films nowadays you consistently see them getting more and more and more demonic. I grew up in the era of Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and I used to love all of those films. I used to love all of those films when I wasn't a believer in Christ. But as you've noticed in many Hollywood films, the films have gone from that extreme to now the more demonic. It is the aim of Satan to slowly desensitize you to witchcraft, to slowly desensitize you to the occult. This is why the scriptures tell you, 2 Corinthians 11:14, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. It has been a slow indoctrination into the occult. In Halloween, it is especially extremely evil. Many witches believe this is their new year. Many witches during this day are performing rituals, sacrifices, and many more occult things. But the devil has tricked many churches, forgetting 3 John 11. Beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil has not seen God. And you cannot mix the holy and the profane just because your child is interested in doing Halloween. And if you can teach your child from a very early age the wickedness of Halloween, you train your child up in the way that he or she should go, because that is your responsibility as a parent. The topic of trick or treat. Study the origins of Halloween. When you study the origins of Halloween, you can take him all the way back to the Tower of Babel with Nimrod and Semiramis. I made a very detailed video on this last year, and I'll put a link on the screen for that video. But here's a slide from last year that I discussed. The Horned God. In some Wiccan traditions by Simon, the goddess has entered into her incarnation of crone. This is the goddess that rises up in Easter. Ishtar, the Queen of Heaven, okay, which God prohibits you from worshiping. But in this point in time during this year, Wiccan traditions, some of them tell you that she is entering into her incarnation of crone. She is the old one, the earth mother, the wise one we turn to when we need advice, according to Wiccans. According to Wiccans, she teaches us that we must let go in order to move on. So at this particular time of the year, during Halloween, the god at Semen is the Horned One, the stag of great antlers, the god of the wild hunt. He is the animal that dies so that we may eat, and the grains and corn that once lived in the field before our harvest. They worship the god of the wild hunt, a god that has antlers. This is typical of Babylonian traditions. This is typical of Baal worship, for them to worship horned gods. And he is the god of the wild hunt. And Nimrod was a mighty hunter. Brothers and sisters in the Lord, Halloween, yes, we can trace him back to the Druids, but it even goes even further than that. It is very demonic to the core.
How did these ancient traditions survive into our modern era? In Western culture, they were preserved by, of all people, Christians. In a bizarre twist of history, as Christianity spread, it adopted and reimagined pagan folkways rather than try to stamp them out. This made it easier to convert pagans. A key pagan festival destined to get a Christian makeover was Lemuria, when celebrants placated the dead, culminating on May 13th.
Of all the different days that they have in the Roman calendar to celebrate the dead, it was the spookiest. So on the Lemuria, what are called the larvae, the ghosts of the departed, would come up and haunt people.
To quell the dead, pagan Romans poured milk onto their graves or offered them little cakes. But the church co-opted Lemuria in 609 AD, turning May 13th into All Saints' Day, a day to honor the most holy of dead Christians.
Setting aside this day was an attempt to Christianize this very pagan festival, and yet at the same time what it did was it kept a lot of the same themes going.
The Christianized version of Lemuria was such a success that church leaders made a decision that eventually gave rise to Halloween. They moved All Saints, or Hallows Day, to November 1st to drain the life out of pagan Samhain. Because Samhain fell on the night of October 31st, before All Hallows Day on November 1st, people started calling Samhain All Hallows Evening, the evening before All Hallows Day. This shortened into All Hallows Even, and finally into Halloween. And then, to be safe, the church went one step further, adding a holiday to honor not just saints, but everyday Christians. November 2nd became All Souls Day, a church-sanctioned holiday to honor the departed.
I was in a little town, Darjeeling, on the northern boundary of India, where it met Tibet. And there were several visitors from various countries, and the hotel management decided it would be appropriate to give a little entertainment in the Tibetan spirit. So they brought in about a half a dozen Tibetan dancers with their masks and regalia to entertain. And among them was a little boy about 8 years old, a very cute, chubby little rascal, and everyone liked immediately. But when the time for the dance came, he put on one of the most grotesque masks you'd ever want to see. He really looked like a nightmare. And of course everyone knew it was the little boy. But during the dance, he started and moved over very rapidly towards the audience, as though he's getting ready to attack them. And you should have seen the audience scatter. They all knew it was a little boy, but with the mask, something happened. And a real spirit of ancient and primary fear moved in on those people. They actually, subconsciously, were terrified. On another occasion, I remember in the Japanese no drama, where the principal actors are masked. Many of the themes are highly sacred, and in the various performances, the actors are nearly always concealed behind these wood-carved masks that are well painted and decorated, but of course have no expression except that of the original carving. But under a careful handling of lights, particularly by the postures of the head in relationship to the source of light, these faces seem to change. And in moments of joy, the face really seemed to smile. And in sorrow, the face looked very tragic. And yet it was done with a wooden mask, but everyone felt it. The skill with which the mask was handled was the principal factor. In the southwest of the United States, we have a series of ritualistic dances by the various Indian tribes, the Zunis, Hopis, Navajo. These dances often include masked figures, and everyone knows that these masked figures are members of the local community. One of the men with a mask, very carefully developed, rather crude mask concealment, actually has two children in the audience. They all know that it's father, but when he dances toward them with a sacred pollen, they kneel instinctively as though he was a god. Something happens when the masks begin to take a part in religious ritual. Masks were used in Egypt, we know, in the temple mysteries. And even today, the various carvings and manuscripts of Egyptian origin show human beings with the masks of birds and animals. The Greeks used masks in their theater also. Nearly always a mask becomes a complete change of personality. If accompanied by adequate religious ritual, the mask becomes the secret of the development of a peculiar theological belief that there was a divine power in the mask. And when it was worn correctly and under ritual supervision, it brought a deity into contact with humanity. Well, in the course of time, the mask cults have gradually faded, but in many primitive countries they still survive. Then came another step forward in the study of human psychology. It is almost impossible for the average person to understand a completely abstract principle. It is very hard to visualize something that has no form, or to visualize an energy which is completely unembodied. From very early times, it became apparently necessary to present nearly all of the important truths of life symbolically.
When you send your child trick-or-treating, the point of trick-or-treating to the Druids and other traditions, they believed that during this day that evil spirits were roaming the earth. Evil spirits were roaming their towns. It was a time where the weather was very cold. Crops were not growing properly, so they associated that with the dead. So what they did was, in order for them to leave their homes, they dressed up in costumes, in evil masks, in any type of a way to avoid these evil demonic spirits. But it went worse than that. On that day, they would actually leave treats in front of their homes in the forms of vegetables, groceries, and so forth, as sacrifices so that the evil spirits would not harm them. If you look at different traditions, it was even darker than that. Human sacrifices were involved. Witchcraft was involved. Animal sacrifices were involved, all in the name of these demonic spirits. They did not overcome evil with good in the sense of Jesus Christ. They did it with evil. That's how witchcraft works. There are a lot of people that turn to Santeria, which is witchcraft, to combat evil, instead of turning to the true power, which is Jesus Christ. So when someone knocks on your door and they say, trick or treat, think about the words alone. Hey, I'm gonna trick you if you don't give me a treat. That's manipulation, first of all. Aside from that, think of what you're doing when you're giving them candy. You're giving them a sacrifice so that you can ward off those bad spirits. Now, of course, you can say you're taking it to the extreme, Tally. I understand that you may say that, and I realize that, but all I'm showing you is the origins of all of this stuff. I'm not necessarily telling you that you're sacrificing anything. But souling, ghouling, all of these traditions are not of God. The jack-o'-lantern, there are many believers that are watching this that have jack-o'-lanterns in front of their homes. According to the legend, Jack was a man who played a lot of tricks upon people. And long story short, he made a deal with the devil that the devil will not take him to hell. Okay? So when he died, he tried to make it to heaven. And he couldn't make it to heaven. He couldn't go to hell. He couldn't go to heaven. So he was stuck here on earth, roaming the earth. So the devil, as a courtesy to him, tossed him this ember, this light, this orb, if you will, so that Jack can actually light himself into the way. So Jack's favorite meal was a turnip. He took a turnip, carved it out, and put that orb inside the turnip. And he roamed the earth with the turnip, with the orb inside. Thus came the jack-o'-lantern. The reason they did jack-o'-lanterns was to ward off Jack, the evil spirits. And there's other traditions that show you that the jack-o'-lantern is made to bring forth good spirits and ward off bad spirits. So when you carve out a pumpkin, right, because the turnip turned into a pumpkin, and you put a candle inside, what do you think that's representing? Yes, we modernized paganism. We've modernized it and made it okay, right? But you're basically in the spirit realm. You're basically in the spirit realm to these demonic entities. They're saying, look at that person. They believe in the jack-o'-lantern story. You see, all of these rituals, all of these stories turn to evil to get rid of evil. When the reality is that you don't need evil to get rid of evil. You need the power of Jesus Christ. Does the Bible not say in Leviticus 19:31, regarding not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them? I am the Lord your God. Does the Bible not say in Micah 5:12, and I will cut off witchcraft out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers? My brothers and my sisters in the Lord, in Ephesians 5:11, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Reprove them. Okay, so if you want somebody knock on your door, you want to give them a Bible tract, give them a Bible tract. Preach the gospel. Your kids want to participate in it? No, honey. No, we can't do that. No, sweetie. No, we can't do that. But let's have a Bible study. How about that? Oh, but mom, I want to carve a pumpkin. Oh, my mom, I want to... Listen, I know you want to do all that stuff, but all of that is not of God. Train your child up in the way that he or she should go, because these little compromises that you make now, when they get to 15, 16, 17, 18, they're going to get out of hand. And then what you're going to do? Well, mom, you allowed me to do that little witchcraft. What's this witchcraft? Right? Because then they turn to Wicca. And this is not about being extreme in these senses. You have to understand that you also have to protect your children. A lot of the candy that you get from Halloween, you don't know if that's tainted or not. Many kids actually are abducted during Halloween for a lot of satanic purposes. We sometimes do not understand how evil things really are because Satan has modernized things and made it okay and cool. I've had Christians tell me, Tali, I'm not going to do the evil stuff. The evil stuff I'm not going to do. But I'm still going to go to a Halloween party in places full of witches, which are out there loving it. This is their New Year. How do you celebrate New Year's in America? You have parties, fireworks, hugging each other. Wow, it's here. That's how they view it. It's the rise of the horned god.
It is pure evil.
Where in Mexico, Day of the Dead is celebrated. One of my favorite traditions. Do you like Day of the Dead?
Yeah, it's just like Halloween, right?
Well, they are similar, but they are also way too different to say that they are the same celebration. For example, Day of the Dead has been celebrated in Mexico for centuries, even before the Spanish arrived in the country. In fact, the native Mexicas used to have at least 6 celebrations dedicated to dead throughout the year. But when the Spanish arrived to the country, they didn't like some of the things that they saw at these celebrations, like the rituals and the human sacrifices. So they managed to incorporate some of their traditions from Christianity with what was celebrated here in Mexico. And they actually moved the celebration of Day of the Dead to align with the celebration that they brought from Europe called All Hallows Tide, which was celebrated from October 31st to November the 2nd.
Wow, those Spaniards sure were an influential bunch. Very interesting history. So how are the two holidays different? In the United States, we usually celebrate Halloween by carving pumpkins, little kids dress up and go trick-or-treating for candy. That's a fun kind of day.
Well, in Mexico, Day of the Dead is more like a spiritual celebration. And here you would find family members together at the cemeteries where they would come and clean the tombs of their deceased loved ones. You would also find mariachis playing here at the cemetery, tons of food, and a party that goes through the night. Some people stay the night at the cemeteries. Some people believe that it's a special time where the souls of their loved ones who have passed away have permission to return to Earth and spend a few days with their loved ones. So that's why people come to cemeteries or make altars at home dedicated to honor them.
Interesting. So do Mexicans celebrate Halloween?
In fact, we do. We have something called Dia de Brujas, which is Day of the Witches, and it's basically like Halloween, just with a different name. Children dress up and they go trick-or-treating. Some adults also dress up and they go out, have fun, drink with their friends. People also watch horror movies at home, and it's basically the same, just with a different name.
So where do they celebrate Day of the Dead in Mexico?
Day of the Dead is celebrated everywhere in Mexico. No matter where you go to, there's going to be something going on for Day of the Dead. But this is also a celebration that takes place in places like Ecuador and even Brazil now. And in the United States, the Day of the Dead is celebrated in places where there are big Mexican communities. So pretty much in all of America.
So if an outsider wanted to join in on the celebration, what would they do?
I would recommend visiting any of the cemeteries in the country because that's where families and friends and people in general just hang out for Day of the Dead. And also they could visit any of the main squares in every city because that's where altar competitions take place, where different schools get together and groups of students have to decorate an altar dedicated to an important person, and they could go help decorate or just stick around and eat pan de muerto.
And if you can't see that that's evil, then you deserve the judgment and just the wrath that God is going to pour out upon you, because you should know better. Because the Bible says necromancy is an abomination, it's evil, it shouldn't be done. But yet people are doing it. And it's just shocking what people are doing. This is crazy. I can't believe the things I see. And yet it's going on. People, please come out of the church. Come out of the harlot church. Come out of this church before God judges you severely. I don't want people to have to endure the punishment and the pure wrath of God when he pours his judgment out on those that chose to stay in this church, chose to be part of this. It's an abomination. It's an abomination to God. And there's no way you can justify this. There's no way you can say that this is okay. It's disgusting. It's bad enough that you have to have idols that are made of stone and graven, carved wooden images. But when you have idols, when you have dead bodies, you have corpses in churches where people are coming along and giving them some kind of a worship, it's sick and disgusting. And these people that you will come and take pictures of and worship, these dead popes, they're nothing but antichrist against the true living God. I rebuke this church in the name of Jesus Christ and all its abominations. And I'll never bow down to this church. I'll never bow down to this disgusting beast system. And it is of the devil. And if you don't wake up, people, if you don't wake up, God will punish you severely for your foolishness. Because anybody that knows God, that has a heart for God, has love for God our Father in heaven, and Jesus Christ will not be part of this. And you need to be told, people, because nothing seems to be waking you up. You have an excuse for everything. You have an excuse for everything. But don't you understand what God does to you when you open up the Bible, get to know him, when you start having a personal relationship with God, when you repent, most importantly that word repent, and turn from the world, turn from the things that lead you into a sinful lifestyle. Turn from it and allow God to give you that Holy Spirit, because when God knows that you're sincere and truly ready to serve him, he won't withhold his comforter, the Holy Spirit. He will give it to you guys, and you will have a different outlook, a different understanding. You will be spiritually led by the truth, because God will be teaching you and refining you and just, you know, educating you in the ways of the truth of the Bible, and not this. There's no way, you know, I can't believe people are so foolish. But nothing surprises me anymore with this harlot, evil, abominational church, where all my family are caught up in. Not like they ever go to church. None of them do, only apart from weddings, funerals, christenings, you know. But there are a few in my family that do go to church every Sunday, and they give this system, this disgusting system, they think it's of God, and it's not. This is the most evil church out there. God is going to destroy this. This is the Antichrist system. It's here with us today, and it's disgusting, and people can't see it's Antichrist because they've been brainwashed and programmed to accept it as of God. But it's not of God, it's of the devil, and I rebuke.
Hello.
Hello there.
What's your name?
My name's Jenny Darren.
Nice to meet you, Jenny. Where are you from?
I'm from the Cotswolds.
Oh, love the Cotswolds. Do you have a day job?
No, I'm retired.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 68. I grew up in a place called the Black Country, which is near Birmingham. Birmingham? Like that, where everybody talks like that and gets higher and higher and higher when they speak. I'm retired now, you know, I pick up a pension. We're all getting older, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And you think, well, do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's marvellous to perform at the London Palladium. It's the biggest part of English entertainment history. So that would be amazing to get those 4 yeses today. That would be lovely.
And Jenny, are you doing this because you think you can win the show?
Absolutely.
That's what it's about.
Of course.
Okay, Jenny, good luck.
Okay, just bear with me, campers.
Oh, there's more.
Feeling easy, feeling free. Woman, take it on a one-way ride. Don't say nothing, let me be. I got everything on my side. Get no reason, got no right. I'm gonna have me a great time. Going down, party time. All my friends are gonna be there too. Sing it! I'm on a highway to hell. Highway to hell. I'm on a highway to hell.
Every time you go to the airport, you can't miss this guy, the blue horse with the beet red eyes staring at you as you drive up to the main terminal. Well, now he's getting a friend. Check this out. It's Anubis, also known in Egypt as the god of death. And now it's hanging out at the airport. Fox 31's Kim Posey joins us live tonight from DIA. Kim, we'll start with the obvious. What were they thinking putting the god of death at the airport?
Well, Ron, the statue is here paving the way for the King Tut exhibit that's going to be coming at the end of the month. The statue was erected right here on the south side of the terminal earlier today, and a lot of people are really excited about it. But some find it a little bit odd that the Egyptian god of the dead would be looking in on an airport where some people are afraid to be anyway. It's not the pyramids, it's DIA.
That's an interesting image to have here at the airport.
A statue of Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of the dead, is going up here ahead of the King Tut exhibit.
I wanted a picture of that.
Art enthusiasts are really excited.
He's here to pave the way for King Tutankhamun's treasures to come to the Denver Art Museum.
But some travelers aren't sure if they feel more or less secure at security with Anubis looking in.
If it's the god of death, I wouldn't exactly be putting it out in front of the airport.
For some,
I don't like flying to begin with.
it's just not very reassuring.
It's kind of weird, especially being at an airport, you know, bad voodoo.
DIA already has the sculpture of the big blue Mustang with the glowing red eyes.
It scared me. I was kind of scared.
The statue fell on its creator and killed him, and some affectionately call him Blucifer.
What do we call it? A demon?
Now this latest edition of artwork could challenge the horse's notoriety.
Definitely an odd choice.
He may be the god of the dead, but this jackal-headed statue doesn't have glowing red eyes, and lots of travelers were actually really excited to see him.
I like it.
Now the statue is 26 feet tall and it weighs 7 tons. It will be here just temporarily because of the King Tut exhibit. That starts June 29th at the Denver Art Museum. Ron?
Kim, sounds from your piece like reaction was mixed to this exhibit.
Very mixed. And you know, we found that some people didn't even know exactly what this statue was. It just got here today, so it might take some time before people really figure it out.
Okay, Kim Posey live tonight at DI.
You know why I love Starburst? It's a contradiction. It's solid, yet juicy, like a liquid.
Ugh, boring. Living dead. That is a contradiction, my friend.
It's not a contest, sir.
Everything's a contest, sir.
Starburst exists in 2 separate...
Oh, boring.
Starburst exists in...
You are boring me to death, and I am already dead. You're boring me back to death.
Okay. Starburst, it's a juicy contradiction.
I think it should go without saying at this point in my presentation that witchcraft, secret societies, and even demonic possession are still very prevalent in modern society. It's not BS. So to say your kids are being laughed at by Satanists on Halloween, also known as Samhain, is a bit of an understatement. In fact, it's largely promoted for this reason, as well as the gorging of sugar that does have an impact on more than just a person's ability to connect spiritually. Again, pineal gland, if you want. That may sound ridiculous, but pagans and Satanists believe in these things for a reason. You might notice a very large candy aisle in every store for every single holiday, and it's no coincidence. They're not just making candy moguls and dentists richer. It also dumps society down and facilitates mind control for the occult militaries, but we'll get to that. All the major holidays, especially American, involve huge amounts of sugar, but for Halloween in particular, seeing your kid dressed as a gray alien, let alone a vampire, goblin, or witch, makes a Satanist smile. They got to you, and you may think it's just a game. The kids sure do. Just non-sugary food for thought, and here's a connection to their lines of reasoning. Ritual sacrifice of babies has been traced through various ancient religions like of Ishtar, Molech, Baal or Baal, also known as Bel, and others. The Sunday service of Ishtar, the star Sirius, remember, is the original bloodbath of Easter Sunday, though. That day is not at all about Jesus' resurrection, at least to these people, even if the Catholic Church worked it out for the same time period as Passover and the other feast days that Jesus died and was resurrected on. The Ishtar cultists murdered babies on the altar, and the drained blood was used to dye Ishtar or Easter eggs during the Sunday service. I won't comment on the rest of the disgusting ceremony. Sacrificing children is one of the cornerstones to make a Freemasonic link of paganism or Satanism. Remember the unholy trinity I mentioned. It has significance with these holidays outside of Catholicism. And it's well known that Christmas is not actually Jesus' birthday. It's more the celebration of the winter solstice for pagans. Again, this is the result of the Roman Emperor Constantine trying to hold his empire together in favor of pagans rather than Christians. Jesus' birthday is figured sometime near the end of September, based on the birthday of John, who was 6 months apart, and it's shown in Scripture. It's not that hard to figure out. I'm quoting from this site that shows it very well. Assuming John's conception took place near the end of June, adding 9 months brings us to the end of March as the most likely time for John's birth. Adding another 6 months, the difference in ages between John and Jesus brings us to the end of September as the likely time of Jesus' birth. And if it followed one of the Lord's feast days, that might even be on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Take that as you will. And furthermore, Christmas, Christ Mass, is in no way one of the Lord's holy feast days. In fact, Hanukkah was an afterthought of rededicating the Second Holy Temple, and not one of the original holidays either, though it's at least a reasonable holiday. It's just that we were brought up with notions of snow and singing Christmas carols, making it a jolly season. Aside from the fact of it being the only time of year, you can count on people being generous or nice to one another. But shouldn't every day be about Christ in that regard? It's a phony pagan holiday designed by pagans for sun god worship. Harmless as that may seem, it has occult ceremonies intertwined with the solar cross and zodiacal calendar, which people should realize by now also has not one thing to do with Yahweh, Christ, or anything resembling Christianity. That's the pagan calendar, and while people, pagans really, try to bring Christ into it because of the cross, it's a joke on him, a joke on you, and a joke on your kids for becoming greedy from excessive gift giving and fattening up on more sweets. It's about as simple as that, almost. And to add to that, Christmas trees are in fact a variation of the obelisk, just one that any poor person in history could grab from a nearby forest and celebrate a pagan holiday with. An obelisk in your own home. The ornamental bulbs are another male body part, and tinsel has its own pagan origin, but if you want to take it a step further, the original Satan Claus, or Santa, used to run with Krampuses. Krampi sounds ridiculous, or blackjacks who resemble goat demons like Azazel, Baphomet, Samael, or Pan. This is because Santa is derived from Odin, Nimrod, and Lucifer worship, through Sinterklaas, and a false notion of St. Nicholas, whom even the Vatican claims never existed. That's because he's Satan, to simplify things. Again, Nimrod, the giant god being of his empire, or child of the gods like Egyptian pharaohs, was serving Lucifer. Odin, who Sinterklaas or St. Nick is derived from, impregnated mortal women, as all fallen angels were said to, and he also had an 8-legged horse the 8 reindeer were derived from before Rudolph was added. He is Satan, the primeval god, and the sun god of Luciferian winter solstice paganism. Nimrod has just been confused with Odin and Santa, or Satan. He was actually a follower, whether he ended up being deified and confused as such later. It's worth noting that Old Nick is another name for Satan, and St. Nicholas should be the obvious link. The ho-ho-ho is what Satan used to say when entering the stage during old plays. So whether Sinterklaas traces to Nimrod or not, that's how we know it's really Satan. It's all relative anyway. He's not the good guy breaking into your house, and the fallen angel watchers probably do see you when you're sleeping. Krampuses are the original elves who beat the bad kids, or worse, and some cultures still celebrate with them. In the original version, they put particularly bad kids in a bag to take home to eat. And in the movie A Christmas Story, they know that the elves are Krampuses, and you can tell by their attitude alone, but also Ralphie is made to climb a pyramid to see Satan in person. The slide to hell is the final touch, full of disappointments for the kids. You'll also note they slipped in the Wizard of Oz, and that has huge links to MKUltra post-hypnotic triggers. There's really a lot you can pick apart about it, but don't mistake that you've been sold a Santa that is really Satan ever since Coca-Cola rebranded him for mass marketing in the early 20th century. And you can see that even in the mid-20th century that Christmas was already a drag on people. It's intended that way because it's Satan's holiday during the cold winter solstice day in hell frozen over. But that is where we get our elves, little green men, leprechauns, gnomes, and other similar depictions from, demons. Are they all variations of Crowley's Law? We keep coming back to them, and it's very likely their intentions have always been to get some unsuspecting dupe of a Nimrod to perform occult magical science to break them out of their abysmal prison. Now let's look more at the Catholic Church and the continuation of paganism. Paganism is where rumors of a light and dark side of Catholicism come from. Again, it's the machinations of Roman Emperor Constantine. An obelisk and radial sun symbol, likely of Ishtar, that stems from Nimrod's Babylonian witch schools and or the Brotherhood of the Snake, set the whole pagan stage, and you'll also notice the entirety of the construction faces due west, and that's no coincidence, since that's where sun Set is, Set is the Egyptian Satan, still worshipped by many, including psychological warfare specialists in the military like Colonel Michael Aquino, who created the Temple of Set in America. The entire square is built this way as a temple of human sacrifice. It's why the dead are kept where they are, and I can support this claim by using the Washington Monument. It has an even more obvious construction, faces west also, keeps the dead in the same place, possibly for a reason of evil reincarnation I won't get into, and was built by the same people, the Freemasons. While not identical, they bear the same symbolism of obelisks and female symbols to go with, that can be traced from Egyptian gods to Babylon, and were purposely built to be seen from space by the star gods that so many ancient cultures depict. Or maybe it's to entertain the Amazon Nazis on the moon, who knows. It's purposely offensive because of pagan satanic origins, and I'm sufficing to say Freemasons are Luciferians, at least the ranking portion of them are, and it's hard to imagine the original papacy had no clue what was being built under their noses. I will go so far as to say the X and the O of the monument likely originates within the synagogue of Satan, directly related to the idea of Clyphot, or Clawfoot, whatever, and the mark of the beast. It represents the souls of those who die insane and are sent to the abyss, and this is a big part of the reason that suicide rates are up. Kabbalism is more widely practiced within Freemasonry with the motto of Ordo Ab Chao, order out of chaos, related to the gang stalking phenomenon. And all the imagery of spirals and X's and O's, which don't mean hugs and kisses, are seen so often now. It also relates to that double V hand sign, also meaning 66, which is why Madonna was displaying the symbol during the 2012 Super Bowl halftime show. If you still don't believe that, note that the year 2012 can be decoded as letters spelling Zion. Coincidence? Freemasonry, again stemming from the Tower of Babel or even Atlantis, is where all satanic groups converge, and why Set is included. It all comes down to the rebellious Satan, whom they all worship in various illusory forms, whether Lucifer, Baphomet, or other. And bear in mind, the word Catholic means universal, hinting at the inclusion of all pagan symbology and ritual practices, at least in the dark. It also infers New World Order, which Freemasonry, or if you want to use the word Illuminati, is an integral part of. In the year 70 AD, Antiochus Epiphanes committed what many feel is the abomination of desolation. In anger and humiliation, he sacked Jerusalem and placed a statue of Zeus, also known as Jupiter, in God's temple. Many feel that statue is now sitting in the Vatican, but even if not, there is a museum where all the Roman gods are shown, and the statue of Jupiter is conveniently missing. There is a statue of St. Peter that seems conspicuously like Jupiter, with a sun halo over his head even, and people have kissed his false idol of a foot so much that it's almost rubbed off. The papacy is well aware of the light and dark sides of the church coexisting, but also the Pope plays the vicar of Christ, interceding for humanity when that's Christ's job alone. The Catholic Church is actually the whore of Babylon riding on the back of the New World Order, much as I'd like to say it's the USA itself, for several reasons that should be obvious. We're the worst example in the world and the most evil military aggressors, just for starters. The Romans and the synagogue of Satan, the phony Jews who Jesus mentioned in the Bible, were already carrying on Babylonian traditions by the time Jesus was born. When Constantine brought the folds together, he was bringing satanic Babylonian witchery to Christians. All their child sacrifices, pedophilia, and other evil practices are all done in secret, often beneath churches, if you believe the stories of nuns who've spoken out. This is where the black veil brides really come from. Catholic priests aren't always after the kids. Sometimes they take nuns as unofficial brides, and their sinful pregnancies are usually, if not always, human sacrifices whose bones line the walls and floors beneath churches. Believe it or don't. You didn't really think mortals could exist as bastions of piety and celibacy that you tell your innermost secrets to, do you? Worship has been practiced on the wrong day of the week for centuries to suit the pagan half. Sundown Friday to sundown Saturday is the real Sabbath. Excuse it as you like. The idea of Christ in the church may seem like the focus, but all of God's appointed times have been altered in the extreme. The pagan rituals still exist and often right in your face, and popes still sit on thrones of gold because they hail the all-seeing eyeball as much as any other major institution does in the past or present, the synagogue of Satan. They're all puppets, and the Freemasons are right there with them because they built most churches. They are bed buddies. The steeple is also an obelisk to show how far they've taken the symbolism into the mainstream of Christianity. See the parallel symbolism everywhere in Europe and America. Many Freemasons are Catholics for these reasons, and they all work together in various ways, whether it's architecture, entertainment meant to distract or deceive you, or even mass rituals. If you're a well-meaning Catholic, I apologize, but you're being deceived by Satanists who play the Pied Piper in the name of Christ. They perform demon rituals in secret, and yet another reason for so-called alien activity so prevalent in our time. I'm getting to the alien deception as we go here. Aliens are demons, and I can prove that as much as possible anyway. And again, child sacrifices performed in secret.
Dancing construction workers, angels with giant heads, and whatever these things are. It's a surreal ceremony for the opening of what's been billed as Switzerland's construction of the century. Leaders from Germany, Italy, Austria and France joined Swiss President Johann Schneider-Ammann at the spectacle in Palleggio, Switzerland, where a record-breaking 57-kilometre tunnel now cuts through the Swiss Alps. The mammoth engineering project links the stations of Estfield in the north of Switzerland to Bordeaux in the south. Work on what's now the world's longest and deepest tunnel started 17 years ago.
With a guest list that read like a meeting of the United Nations. When you celebrate science, perhaps it's best to not get carried away. The inauguration ceremony included some, how should we put it, original choreography.
It was quite bizarre.
Aidalami, do you associate this kind of dancing with the inauguration of a tunnel?
I don't understand art enough.
Speechless.
It leaves me speechless.
So the internet has been ablaze, in shock over what transpired in Switzerland with the opening of the longest and deepest tunnel in the world. Conspiracy research community and regular folk across the spectrum alike were in disbelief. What many are saying was the most open, satanic occult ritual of all time. Even much worse than the 2012 Olympics. But it was truly shocking. It has definitely hit me to my core. When I first saw it, especially the end of the ceremony, my heart was heavy, and it's just difficult to watch, but I was reassured that after what I just witnessed, there's going to be some disturbing and bizarre times ahead, more than we've ever seen. That much we should realize. These Freemasons, these so-called ruling elite, they now know they can perform outright blatant satanic rituals short of literally sacrificing a human being on screen and easily get away with it. They don't care. They no longer care. It's just another indication that shows you just how close we are. We're in the final phase of a plan spanning hundreds, if not thousands of years. And if what transpired in Switzerland doesn't wake you up to that, I don't know what will. This ritual was a ritual for the unleashing of the underworld. Gotthard Tunnel, underground. CERN, underground. As you'll see in this video, the connection between this tunnel, the ritual performed there, and CERN goes far, far beyond being in the same territory and both being underground.
But there is definite viewer discretion advised because there's a lot of very disturbing imagery in it. Now this happened in Switzerland, near the Swiss Alps. Air show and bizarre performance opens the longest tunnel in Swiss Alps. This spectacular air show marked the opening of the world's longest record-breaking rail tunnel in Earthfield. running for 57 kilometers through the Swiss Alps. The ceremony continued with a freakish show where some of the half-naked performers dressed as goats allegedly tried to express the hellish work through the mountain, or the fact that the gates to hell are now officially open. Let this sink in here for a moment. This is how the secular world, a Russian newspaper, described this event where 4 heads of state were at. Even the secular world states that it was a freak show and that it strongly hinted at and conveyed to them that the gates to hell were open. That's how blatant this show was. With the main performer being the dancing goat and other blasphemous references to Christ in this event too as well. They even parade around the lamb, and even, again, the secular world was looking at this and saying, what in the world is this showing? This is so bizarre. This is a freak show. What are they showing here? They're doing this openly. Many blatant references to Cernunnos and Pan figures and satyrs in connection to parading the dead lamb around, mocking the Lamb of God, at the same time while the goat figure is dancing around, celebrating. All during this Cernunnos dance and the witchcraft and pagan occult illustrations they were involving here with blatant witchcraft dances as well. They're displaying sparking forges and evoking video imagery on the wall, referencing hell as well. Other pictures from being in the forge and the fires emerging at this time, and red flames, all this coming together while the gates and the doorways are opening, bathing everything in red. This event was truly disturbing. It truly does disturb you when you watch the footage of it. This was most certainly an occult event. And they show all the red and the bloodshed that is associated with opening the door. And when they open the door, smoke emerges, just like the Bible talks about when the bottomless pit is opened. Smoke emerges as though from a great furnace. And a train comes rolling in. There's going to be a portal open. There's going to be a dimensional highway made. And things are going to come out of it, like the Bible states. And we talked about just several weeks ago, at the same time as all these other events starting, how they were blatantly letting the world know the gates of hell were about to open. With the Inferno trailer with Tom Hanks, bringing that onto the scene in connection with a lot of other things we've been studying as well, prominently featuring trains in the trailer too as well, because they use it as a picture of time traveling, moving a long time as well, but then also as a cue card to look for other events tied to the messaging as well, with the train tunnel. And we talked about how in the trailer, they talk about being in the underground and rivers of blood, because they know all these are tied together. The one leads to the other. And they know there's going to be a massive release of shedding of blood, and ties in with the other messaging they've put down before with the Da Vinci Code blasphemy and the Angels and Demons film, which was filmed at CERN. All these are connected by subject matter. CERN definitely does seem to be part of opening the bottomless pit. We've talked about that before. And they're now announcing that hell is about to be unleashed. The mystery of iniquity is about to be unrestrained. And then just 2 days after that, they again prominently featured on Bing the gates of Hades being opened with their Orcus reference, referencing Hades, the underworld. And we've seen a lot more messaging in between that, but then just recently on the 31st, a commemoration of the Hell of Verdun using some of the same public figures who were also involved at the tunnel ceremony, Merkel and Hollande, bringing attention to the Hell of Verdun, and we talked about that, and with the lighting evoking their same color messaging. And then the very next day, they went to the tunnel opening where they commemorated Cernunnos and pain coming from the underworld and persecution and bloodshed, celebrating openly that the gates to hell are about to open. They don't need to hide it anymore.
I do want to reiterate here again and drive home the point that it is irrelevant whether or not we believe the Bible to be true, Satan to be real. The important thing to understand and realize first and foremost, if you are a non-believer in the spiritual realm, spiritual warfare, etc., is these people do. And they are literally carrying out an agenda based on these ideologies. This is the reality. So in order to understand the bigger picture, understand why they perform rituals such as this, you must understand things biblically and spiritually. Let's take a look at various symbolism of this ritual and break it down in terms of time and space, CERN, and the opening of what is called the abyss, as described in Revelation. These are aspects I've covered from time to time, and it seemingly culminates with this ritual and only further solidifies my conclusion regarding the real agenda behind CERN. So what we actually see playing out in this ritual is Revelation 9:11. And that states, "And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name Apollyon." And as we can see, the 9/11 memorial in New York, called the Infinity Pool, is a direct reference to Revelation 9/11, and that is no coincidence. It is a direct reference and representation of the bottomless pit, the abyss, the black void. This is what they've shown us time and time again, consistently throughout history in their occult structures and locations all over the world. 9/11 Memorial, Infinity Pool being a prime example. Even RT News wrote an article on CERN and revealed the quote-unquote curious connection between Apollo and CERN. Quote, "Now on top of all the speculation as to what CERN scientists are really attempting to do with their LHC, many observers cannot help but notice that the town in France where CERN is partially situated is called Saint Genès-Pouilly. The name Pouilly comes from the Latin Apollyacum, and it is believed that in Roman times a temple existed in honor of Apollo, and the people who lived there believed that it is a gateway to the underworld. It is interesting to note that CERN is built on the same spot." End quote. So CERN was built over the ancient site of Apollo, aka Apollyon, the destroyer. The name Apollo was often linked in ancient Greek writings with the verb apollimi or apollio, meaning destroy. CERN's Shiva, of course, is also known as the destroyer. With that said, let's look at the actual symbolism of the ritual. Let's look at the first part of the ritual, the obvious Satanism, and the worship of the angel of death, the angel of the bottomless pit. The Baphomet androgynous figure we see here, it's the Baphomet angel of death archetype with androgynous features. You can see male breasts, and that is quite disturbing, and it is exact representation of Baphomet. Here we see the green man is escorted out, surrounded by all the goat horns. And the green man, of course, is synonymous with Cernunnos, the horned god of the underworld. Moving on to the second part of the ceremony, where we see a display of projected images onto a wall or a screen. The workers form an 8-spoked wheel just before they breach through the mountain wall. 8-spoked wheels are depicted as time and space mechanisms throughout ancient artworks. They are synonymous with transcending space-time. This is why CERN's detectors, particularly the Atlas detector, is designed after the 8-spoked wheel, the 8-spoked wheel of time, because it is a time and space mechanism. This, make no mistake, is not by accident. On the projected screen, we see the mountain is now breached, representing the breaking of the veil of reality. The workers are then sucked into the void of a portal where numerous specter-like hands are reaching out to them. Quite disturbing. Chaos ensues, and specter-like entities are released into this dimension. We now see the horned god appears in the black void, the abyss, coming out from the bottomless pit. The underworld is unleashed. At this point, we can now see the strong parallels between Gothard's ritual and CERN, particularly CERN's occult film ritual symmetry. Here you can see naked entities in the black void of the abyss is depicted in both Gothard ritual and CERN's occult film ritual symmetry. So after the collapsing of time and space, the merging of dimensions, the opening of the portal and unleashing of the underworld, we now see a clock is shown to be in disarray, going forwards and backwards, representing space-time manipulation or distortion. The same time distortion symbolism is also shown in CERN film symmetry. A brief close-up of the watch of the character named Lucas, which is a name that has been said to be an allusion to Lucifer, shows time going in reverse before abruptly stopping. Further exploring the connection between Lucifer or Satan and time, an interesting side note, in the film Winter's Tale, Lucifer, played by Will Smith, has a dialogue with one of his demon minions, played by Russell Crowe. In this scene, Lucifer informs his demon how he has no comprehension of the simple ebbs and turns of time, and eludes his understanding. Since Satan is also known as the serpent or the dragon, and the serpent is another variation of the Ouroboros, which is a symbol of time, we can see why Lucifer places so much emphasis on the construct of time in this scene. He is also shown reading the book A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, although it is essentially unnoticeable unless you search for it, emphasizing once again the connection between Lucifer and time. All you have to do is pay attention to what the media telegraphs regarding CERN. When you see Wall Street Journal, for example, recently release headlines such as, quote, CERN is seeking secrets of the universe or maybe opening the portals of hell, end quote, and openly discuss conspiracy theories and address conspiracy theories about CERN, you know the CERN occult agenda is real. It's really happening. They are literally attempting to crack time and space, merging dimensional realities in order for the unleashing of the underworld to take place. This is why they've injected themes and symbolism associated with time travel, dimensional travel, CERN, particle collider, time distortion, portals, dimensional doors, and so much more in our media more than ever before. On one level, people will dismiss any notion of the CERN occult agenda being real, dismissing the possibility CERN is creating dimensional doors because it was shown in science fiction. It was shown on this TV show or that TV show. This is how they condition the populace on a subconscious level to accept these scenarios as purely science fiction and not possible. But make no mistake, what is seemingly science fiction is literally manifesting in our reality. This is precisely why it is possible reality itself has changed or been altered. Because when human beings are tampering with forces they should never be tampering with, opening doors they should never open, the result is likely something most humans cannot even begin to fathom or comprehend.
And every year at WrestleMania, you got to understand, WrestleMania is always in the very beginning of April. It's essentially a fertility, sorcery ritual. And the guy who owns the WWE, Vince, openly ridicules and mocks Christianity. And basically is very, very pagan. And his shows, okay, there's a Monday night show called Raw. Okay, Raw, like the sun god Ra, but it's spelled R-A-W, like raw chicken. But it's red, and it's called Raw, and it's red. He has SmackDown, and it's a blue show. So he has this red and blue polarity every single week, you know? And then at the end of the year, well, it's at the end of the wrestling season, you get WrestleMania, but the wrestling year ends in April. So basically he's celebrating a pagan new year with his mania of sports. And here's the thing. There's a guy named The Undertaker, okay? The Undertaker has now had 25 matches in a row at WrestleMania. I think he's the one professional wrestler in history who has appeared in the most WrestleMania matches overall. And not only that, he went 21 years undefeated right out of the gate. So he went 21-0. And then when WrestleMania 30 came around, he was going up against a guy named Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar is known as, in wrestling, as the Beast Incarnate, okay? And we're at WrestleMania 30, okay? So it's a 10, and it's a ritual thing. So Undertaker, the dead man, Death, faces off against the Beast Incarnate, okay? And the Beast defeats Death. And it's the first time Death loses at WrestleMania, the spring festival of rebirth for the pagan psychopath Vince McMahon. in his pagan ritualistic psychosis and effect. You know, he murdered Chris Benoit. Everybody knows that now. And a whole bunch of he murdered the Ultimate Warrior, a lot of people say. And those are, of course, speculation, but it's pretty much well known. He does this thing, and the beast is the first one that can ever conquer death. So we know how he feels. He feels like the beast incarnate, Satan, the Antichrist, I guess, is the only one who can defy death. That's what Vince McMahon says at WrestleMania 30 by breaking the Undertaker's 21 years of being undefeated at the Super Bowl of wrestling, essentially, or the World Cup of wrestling, essentially. And then a couple years pass. He's 21-1. He goes to 22-1. He goes to 23-1. And then at WrestleMania 33, 33 in Orlando, in Orange County, the same place that the Pulse hoax shooting happened and the Christina Grimmie hoax murder happened, It comes to Orlando in Orange County, and they have WrestleMania 33. And guess what? Now, The Undertaker faces a guy named, you're not going to believe it, Roman Reigns, R-E-I-G-N-S, like the king reigns over his kingdom. Roman Reigns, And guess what? Roman Reigns is the second guy in history that now defeats death. Isn't that funny? So only the beast incarnate, Satan, or the Roman Empire can defeat death. That's what Vince McMahon wants to tell you. And now death has retired, essentially, I think. A lot of people think that after his 25 years now, because now he's 23-2, and it's 25 years of competing at WrestleMania. His first loss was at 30. His second loss was at 33. It's a lot of number magic and a lot of spring fertility magic too. And Vince defiantly wants to celebrate death. And maybe death is a holiday. Maybe death is a holiday for his satanic sect.
I think I am. What the hell do we do now, huh?
We can't go back. We should just keep moving. Tell me we didn't just go in a circle.
It's exactly the same.
No, everything's upside down.
What happened to the entrance?
Wait, there's something here.
Oh my god.
What the hell is this?
When I was a kid, we had a piano that looked exactly like this. I used to play it all the time. The A4 key was messed up. What's going on? Can you read that?
According to mythology, that's the inscription over the gates of hell. And they shall be made to crawl on their bellies to enter the kingdom of darkness.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I want to say we're about 80 meters below the city. 2-hour wait to get in here. I'm just kind of surprised at how long this is. Like, it's just one way to go. They only let you in about every 10 or 15 minutes. The line outside was at least, 200, 300 people. It's really moist and about 60 degrees down here. The total distance is about 2 kilometers to go through this. Watch out for the hole up here.
Oh, careful right there.
There's supposed to be 6 million people buried down here.
The issue is not whether we can bring back anybody. Of course we can. Really the issue, I think, is should we? And I think at the heart of this is a moral and ethical and even entertainment conundrum that has to be solved by the families and loved ones and the estates of some of these deceased icons.
Both BBH and Digital Domain work closely with their celebrity estates that were happy to introduce their loved ones as they were in life to a new generation.
If done well, this technique allows a whole new generation of people to see a part of them that we never got to see, to engage with them in a way that we never had the opportunity to.
Imagine having a conversation with your loved ones after they've passed away. Well, now you can.
How did becoming a grandparent change you? It brought immense joy into my life.
But instead of going through a psychic medium, people are getting a helping hand from artificial intelligence.
This is the authentic you. This is the video that you created, and now you're making that accessible by means of conversation for the future.
Stephen Smith is the founder and CEO of Storyfile, a program using state-of-the-art AI technology to help people connect with their relatives and friends even after they've departed.
100 years from now, and you're the great-great-great-grandparent of this person who wants to know who you are.
Storyfile lets anyone digitally record their answers to dozens of questions, which are then loaded into the program. Artificial intelligence does the rest, searching the archive of answers and playing the correct response when asked a question.
What was your hometown like? It's so small compared to the bustling place of England.
Smith had his own mother complete a Storyfile session before her passing back in June and maintains the AI software never falsifies a person's responses.
However, I forgot one thing. The Valley of Souls spewed forth far more than one necromancer. Who of us all will lay claim to the title of King Necromancer? Our rise has not gone unnoticed, and the forces of light invade. Knights, noble griffins, all pledged to destroy us, led by the wizened Archbishop and his plan to forever seal our Valley of Souls. We must stop the light, save our kind. The demons must be called, harbingers of blood, bone, mist, and decay. I summon thee. The light is defeated. But oh, the price. Our isle sinks. Now we travel west and claim the land of the light. Pouring our very souls into broken holes, we brave the deep, vanquishing borders only to raise them as our new minions. Onwards to revenge! Let us conquer the land of light!